Mr. Ponta has cultivated an image as a pro-European reformer, even while exploiting Romania's back-scratching political culture.
Back-scratching is a term that comes from the idiom to scratch one's back, which refers to one person scratching the other person's back, who gets their back scratched in return, which refers to a series of favors back and forth, which could be honest. For example, you let somebody borrow your lawnmower and then they let you borrow their barbecue. So that would be a form of back scratching. Or more typically, though, it refers to political activities where one politician will do a favor for another politician in return for a favor back. Or where one businessman will give a good recommendation for another in return for a recommendation back. So that's a very common way for people to get through life. They have people they associate with, and then these people say nice things about them. Oftentimes known as a mutual admiration society, where people that are inside the group, they get treated nicely, people outside the group, not so nice. There's other expressions that basically describe the same thing. One hand washes the other is very common. Also tit for tat, which can refer to positive favors, but can also refer to petty acts of revenge as well. Similarly, quid pro quo refers to this concept, and I believe it means to pay in kind. So if someone does favors to you, you do favors back to them. If they do mean, nasty things to you, then you do mean, nasty things back to them. There's another term which is used in politics, which more or less means the same thing. It's called horse trading. And part of this whole issue of horse trading is that people have to have horses to trade. So very commonly, politicians will be very protective of certain areas of power that they have, and they will only grant favors if they get something in return. So for example, back in the olden days, one of the forms of horse trading was political appointees. Especially in Chicago, the aldermen were given the power to hire a certain number of people to work in the community. So these were oftentimes considered to be very valuable jobs, and the people that got the jobs, they were committed to helping the aldermen stay in power. This is also known as patronage. And in modern days, a lot of those practices have been eliminated, but they've come up with other sneaky ways of more or less doing the same thing, typically involving helping people that they know get government contracts where maybe they are technically even with all the other people, but they give them a little help there, so the contracts will tend to go the way that the politician wants them to go. A lot of people think the lobbying system is a form of horse trading, scratching one's back, where the government officials are wined and dined by people from industry who then try to get the legislation that is favorable to their companies incorporated into the laws. Back when I used to sell cars, we had a pretty well-developed back-scratching system where if somebody needed to sell an extra car to get to their bonus, then one person who had more cars, they would scratch their back, give them an extra car, and then that way the next month, if the other person was short, then they would let the other person sell the car for them. So in a lot of sales type businesses, back scratching is pretty important, especially when there's a bonus that people want to reach.
Mr. Ponta, who once championed the DNA, now claims it is in cahoots with the opposition.
In cahoots means to be in some type of conspiratorial agreement with somebody, to be in league with somebody, usually for something sneaky and negative. So, for example, we had this governor of Illinois, Blagojevich, who is now in prison, and apparently he was in cahoots for a lot of things. He tried to sell Obama's Senate seat, was one of the things he got accused of doing. And he wanted payment in kind for pretty much anything he did. So that's one of the reasons they stuck him in jail. So typically, if you are in cahoots with someone about something, then you have a secret partnership of some type. And it doesn't necessarily have to be for evil or something overly sneaky. You could be in cahoots with your brother to buy a Christmas present for your mother and not have her find out in advance what the Christmas present's supposed to be. So in this case, it's perfectly justified, and there's nothing wrong with it. Similarly, you could be in cahoots with your boss to help him get a promotion. And then he tells you if you help him get his promotion, then he will help you get his job. So in this case, it might be just a little sneaky, but it's considered to be within acceptable behavior. And typically it's used when referring to things that the government does, especially the court system. So they'll say that the defense attorney is in cahoots with the judge to get the defendant off, or the police are in cahoots with the medical examiner to get a favorable autopsy for something they did where they may have done something wrong. For quite a number of years, in response to the global warming people, there's been an anti-global warming movement where they're trying to say that the people that believe in global warming are either exaggerating or even making up information. And to go along with this, as a counter to that, people are saying that the oil industry is in cahoots with the anti-global warming people to dispute a scientific fact. For quite a number of years, there were delays in running a train from the downtown Chicago area out to O'Hare Airport. And a lot of people thought that the city was in cahoots with the taxi commission in order to protect their business, taking people to the airport. But finally the train got built. There was an article in the newspaper the other day about this guy that drove the getaway car, and he said that he didn't even know that his friend was robbing the grocery store. But the police said they were in cahoots and that he knew perfectly well what he was doing. He was not innocently driving his friend away. They were in cahoots. ESL-fullsteamahead.com